So once again, thank you so much for joining us this evening for Grandview University Master of Social Work information session. We are thrilled that everyone is here this evening, and we're very excited to introduce some of our MSW faculty. Right now, what I will do is I will go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Ginger Hermon. I'm sure that most of you have heard from me already, and I am the Senior Enrollment Counselor here at Grandview University, and it's a pleasure to visit with you tonight about our MSW program. And one of the greatest things about my role is through the admissions process as an enrollment counselor, is learning more about you and hearing firsthand the experiences that have led you to want to pursue your MSW program. And I look forward to hearing more about you and um, providing a personalized experience and cheering you along every step of the way through the application process. So what is going to happen here is I'm going to introduce Dr. Kathy Beck-Cross, our MSW program director, and then she's going to also introduce some of the other MSW faculty members that are here tonight. And we're just so fortunate to have their expertise so you can learn more on the academic side about the Master of Social Work program here at Grandview. So Dr. Kathy Beck-Cross, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Hi, everybody. I'm really excited to hear you see that you are here this evening. As Ginger mentioned, I am Kathy Beck-Cross. I'm the director of the MSW program, and I also teach as well as do activities related to monitoring the oversight and carrying out the MSW program. I'm in my 13th year at Grandview. I started working with the BSW program and helped launch that, and then converted to the MSW program a few years ago. And the courses I tend to teach are related to what is referred to as macro practice. So really looking at systems and how to make changes at kind of the higher level than working with individuals or families. So the courses I have taught in the last few years are research class, social welfare policy and practice, developing socially just policy, some of those courses that are more about how do we make change at a greater level. And when you go through the program, one of the things that you'll experience is courses at that macro level, as well as working with individuals, which is what we refer to as the micro level, and working with families and groups, which is more what is referred to as the meso level. And I would like to next introduce you to Gerdenice Noel and let Gerdenice tell you a little bit about herself.
Hi everyone, I'm so glad all of you are here and welcome to Grandview. My name is Gerdenice Noel. I am a professor of practice here at Grandview. My background kind of like popcorns all over the place as it relates to practice. I've done a little bit in child welfare, juvenile courts, juvenile detention, private practice, school-based therapy, a little bit of everything. The classes that I tend to teach are more micro level classes. When you guys first come into the program, the first face that you see as it relates to the classes that you're going to take is me. So I teach practice theory methods. I also teach a clinical social work and mental health class. So for those of you who are going clinical track, it is such a beautiful course. I've designed it so that you could genuinely see what happens when you enter into practice on a more personable level. Um, I lost my train of thought just that fast. I do so much. I also teach justice, equity, and diversity course. We are very big on ADEI, despite what's happening in the world. We are a profession that genuinely has to continue to work with people from all types of walks of life. And we are very intentional about how we teach the course and what we are making sure that you are prepared to handle when you go out in the field. So yeah, that's me. So glad to see you guys.
Thanks, Gerdenice. And next, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Samantha Williams. She's going to be starting in January as our newest faculty member. And so, Samantha, I will let you tell a little bit about what your experiences are and the kinds of courses you have tended to teach.
Hi, everybody. Samantha Williams. I just recently, I guess it's been a year. I finished my doctorate, but I've been a social worker for over 15 years. My main background is in medical social work, So I've primarily worked in the medical field. I have done some therapy and done some other things. I've worked with the military. My husband is in the military, so I have a vast experience with that. And I have taught um, at Troy University for years. And then I've decided to come over here and work. So I'm super excited for that. I've taught in the BSW and the MSW level courses, primarily practice courses, individuals, human behavior courses like that. So I'm excited to move over.
Thanks, Samantha.
Well, thank you again to all of our MSW faculty, and I am very excited to have Dr. Williams here with us this evening when she starts teaching this January. Welcome, Dr. Williams. Very excited to meet you. And so what we're going to be doing next is we're going to be visiting about we're going to be visiting about the different concentrations that our MSW program offers. There's 3 distinct specialties within the program. That's our administration and leadership, clinical, and school social work. Is there anything that you'd like to add about this, Dr. Kathy Beck-Cross?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about the administration and leadership in school social work, and I'll leave it to Gerdenice to talk a bit about the clinical social work. So the administration and leadership is a specialty that you would choose if you see yourself as more interested in maybe some of those macro courses that I was talking about, or you see yourself more in a supervisory role, maybe program development, maybe you want to do more project management as it relates to social work. So you still get in that specialty, you still get courses where you gain skills in how to work with individuals, because we have to do that across any kind of setting. We have to be able to work with people. But the emphasis in your specialty courses is more on how do you work in larger systems and organizations, how do you evaluate programs, that sort of thing. School social work is just what it sounds like. It has a focus on working in a school setting. Now, that could be working, for example, as a traditional school social worker. Even when I say that, though, that's a little bit of a misnomer to be able to say, because every school district has their social worker do things differently. Some school districts have social workers do therapy with their students in the building. Some school social workers work primarily on ensuring that the students and their families have the kinds of things they need for the student to be successful. Some social workers work primarily with students who have behavior concerns and try to address those, or mental health concerns or emotional concerns. So school social work looks different. Could also mean that you would like to someday work in an AEA, Area Education Association, working with children that receive special education services. In the school social work specialty, though, you do take coursework related to working with individuals, because again, you have to be able to experience that have to have those skills across any kind of setting. Gerdenice, do you want to talk a little bit about clinical social work?
Yeah, of course. So I think the biggest thing that we want you guys to understand about the degree tracks and specialties is that although Grandview is particular in offering these courses that aid in what you want to do post graduation, it's important for us to emphasize you are social workers first, and then we are adding these specialties to improve your level of practice and engagement. So when we talk clinical social work, I know a lot of people want to come in, they're dead set on wanting to be therapists and doing all of these things, but it's very important for us to understand, for you guys to understand, because we're teaching it, for you guys to understand that when we talk clinical social work, it's so much deeper than just being a therapist. The approach to holistic care and like systemic care is so important. So we try to incorporate that into how we're teaching the classes and what you're learning. So being mindful of entering into a program to understand when you graduate, no matter what degree track you choose, it's going to say Master of Social Work. It's not going to say clinical social work, school social work. So understand like when you come into this program, how we teach these classes comes from a generalist perspective with the aid of all these specialties that we are allotted to offer you. So I'm excited that you guys get to pick early on because a lot of programs aren't built that way. But it's also important to understand like how you're building on the skills that you're going to learn here.
Mhm. Absolutely. And a key aspect of social work that makes it different, for example, from other helping professions like those rooted in psychology or sociology, is looking at the person and environment, meaning that we look at people in the context of all the things that happen to them. So what is happening to somebody or the challenges they're having in life are not just based on what's in their own head. They're based on what kind of circumstances are happening in the world around them. It could be in their family, it could be within their community or their friends. It could even be, for example, there are a lot of policies that are being changed over the course of the last couple of years that impact people that are already very vulnerable. If you think right now about how currently people who get SNAP or supplemental nutritional benefits are not able to get that right now because the government is in a shutdown. So part of what social workers look at is how is that impacting the person, not just in terms of the fact that, maybe they're frustrated, but, this whole global system that's happening out there is impacting them on an everyday basis. So a huge part of what we look at is advocacy. How do you help people make change in their own lives? How do we help make greater change, which gets to that macro thing that I was mentioning earlier? And we make sure that you have all of those skills. Even if, for example, you want to be a therapist, you still need skills in how do you help affect change for people. There are things that are passed at the legislative level that affect people that are clinicians. So we want to make sure you know how to advocate. We want to make sure you understand, have respect for diversity and cultural humility. We want you to understand the aspects of DEI that you're hearing lots about. We want you to understand all of that, regardless of what your specialty area is and what you eventually plan to do after you graduate.
Yeah.
Samantha, do you have anything? I'm sorry, Gerdnese. Go
Oh, no,
ahead.
no, no. I was just going to add to what you were saying, Kathy. And the reality is, social work in itself is such a robust field. So to come in, even with the track that you enter into, to think that that is where you're going to stay for the entirety of your career is, to be honest, not realistic. Because if you had told me I was going to be teaching when I was a therapist, I probably wouldn't believe you. But here we are, the educators that you have, our experience that led us up to higher education speaks volumes to what this profession has to offer because Kathy and I possess the same degree. Dr. Williams and I possess the same degree for us to all have done something different. And so we want to be able to teach you guys as much as your track means something to you, the bigger picture means something to society. So I'm excited.
Thanks, Gerdnese. Samantha, would you like to say anything more? Are you good? I think Dr. Williams might be frozen. Either that or she's very, very still right now.
One thing that I'll mention to our prospective students that are looking at Grandview University, one of the things that really distinguishes Grandview is our faculty and that personalized attention that you receive. And, it might be overwhelming to you right now as a potential applicant, which concentration you are most in line with. So don't worry about that. We will make sure that we take care of you. We will listen to you and we will help you to identify concentrations that you're most interested in. And then also, as Kathy mentioned, it's a holistic opportunity here at Grandview. You're going to learn about each. You can change your concentration at any point in time in your program. So if it feels overwhelming to you right now, don't worry about it. You have a personalized faculty academic advisor throughout the duration of your program here at Grandview University. You are well nurtured. That's really what distinguishes us here at Grandview University is that personalized experience.
Can you guys hear me now? I apologize.
Yes, that's great. Go ahead, Samantha.
Okay, sorry, my something is wrong with my camera and audio at the same time, so I turned my camera off. I think from my perspective, school is here to provide perspective for us. We're here to give you opportunities to learn and grow as professionals. And I think it's also important to remember that I always say this to my students, is we're here to make judgment calls and to be non-judgmental. So I think that's important, and that goes a long way in the classroom, in our professional settings, and in life, is that we remember those things, and it's for perspective, and it's for us making judgment calls and being non-judgmental. I think that's one of the most important things that we can learn as social workers. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
So we do have different MSW classifications, and we had mentioned earlier, if you have a BSW, then you are going to be considered advanced standing. I'll let Kathy go ahead and take it from here and let her walk us through this.
Sure, sure. So advanced standing, as Ginger said, means that you have an undergraduate degree in social work, and it needs to be from the past 10 years. And if you have a bachelor's degree in social work, does not have to be from Grandview, it can be from somewhere else. Sometimes it's called a BA, sometimes it's called a BSW, sometimes it's called a BSSW. But an undergraduate degree in social work from an accredited program means that you need just 35 credits to graduate. And those 35 credits can be spread out over a couple of years, or they can be done in an accelerated fashion. I think we have a slide where we'll talk about that a little bit more in just a bit, where it's over 3 semesters, a summer, fall, spring. If you do not have an undergraduate degree in social work, you will spend part of your credits doing basically the core work from a bachelor's degree in social work. This is a requirement of the Council on Social Work Education for accredited programs, and we are an accredited program. This is not us just saying, hey, we're going to make people that don't have a bachelor's degree in social work take more credits. It's a requirement of our accreditation specialty that we make sure that you have the foundation from a BSW, and then you move into your MSW courses. So that's 59 credits, and that can be done in an accelerated fashion in 2 years, or you could take 3 years, or you could take 4 years. I mean, if you really want to, you could take 5 years, but it's one of the things that we would talk about right away after you are admitted. The 3+2 program is a little bit different in that that's for students that are in the Bachelor of Social Work program at Grandview, and they already know that they want to get a master's degree afterwards. And so here's how to think of it. Normally, a bachelor's degree is in 4 years, and a typical MSW at the regular speed is 2 years. So that makes 6 years. You can get your bachelor's degree, or excuse me, your master's degree in 1 year after a 4-year degree. It is very intense. We have students who do it all the time. They just know how to make sure they put aside a lot of other things in their life, and they work really hard to be done in a year. But maybe you don't want quite that same level of intensity. So instead of it taking 4 years plus 1 year of accelerated work, which is super fast, you would complete your bachelor's degree in 3 years and then spread your master's degree over 2 years. Now that still equals 5 years. Remember, I said you could do a 4-year plan and then a 1-year accelerated. That's 5 years. So the 3+2 means your bachelor's is done in 3 years, your master's in 2 years. Bachelor's is a little bit faster, not double fast, but a little bit faster because you're doing it in 3 years. And some of your electives for the bachelor's get to be graduate courses, which means you are paying the undergraduate course fee for graduate courses. So that's something that if you are interested in, you need to let your academic advisor know as you're getting close to 90 credits. It takes 124 credits to graduate with a bachelor's degree at Grandview. So as you're getting into those last 34 credits, that's when we would want to talk with you about joining the 3+2. So there's a question that says, oh, oops, I just lost it. Is there any benefit for a currently regular standing student to do the 3+2? No, there would not be, because a current regular standing student, if you are a regular standing student, that means that you are done with your undergraduate degree, whatever it's in, and you are only going to be working on the master's program. So there really isn't a benefit in going back and completing a BSW just so that you can do fewer credits. I mean, we could actually take it and line it up to absolutely make sure. But I have done that for several students and have not found it to be a credit benefit for you. Keep in mind at the graduate level, you pay for every credit. Okay, so if it's 35 credits, it's 59 credits. You're paying for every credit. The undergraduate level, it's the same price between 12 and 18 credits. So we can look at it financially, but again, I've done that for students many times and not found it to be benefit, but we're certainly willing to have the conversation just so that you understand how it looks. Do you want me to keep going on this?
Sure. Yeah. So the admissions requirements for the program, would you walk us through that, Kathy?
Yes, absolutely. So the desired GPA for the regular standing is a 3.0. It's the same as for advanced standing. We do accept students with provisional consideration if you have just a little bit under 3.0. And if that would be the case for you, then when you write your statement of purpose, which is a relatively short essay that you have to write for application, we're not talking about a long-term paper. There are some, I think 4 key questions that you have to answer in that. But in that statement of purpose, if you have a GPA under 3.0, just talk to us about that. I think that's a really good analogy for almost anything about the MSW program, is that we just want you to talk to us about concerns you have. You know, if something's happening as you're going through the program, you have a life event, talk to us about it. If you have an assignment that you're confused about and you think nobody else in the class is confused, but you are, but just you, well, first of all, that's probably not really the case. Probably somebody else is too, but we want you to talk to us about it. So if you have a lower than 3.0 GPA, write about that in your statement of purpose. For advanced standing, the same thing, preferred GPA 3.0. If you have advanced standing, remember that means you have a bachelor's degree in social work and you're wanting to do the accelerated program, which means taking more than full time in terms of credits for 3 terms in a row, then we want you to have a 3.25. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit more about what those credits are, but at the graduate level, 9 credits is full time. And that's because 9 credits is going to feel like 12 to 15 credits. Your projects are going to be larger, lots and lots of reading, probably fewer projects, but they'll just be bigger. And so because 9 credits is full time, if we're going to take 12 credits at the graduate level, that's like time and a third, right? So that means if you're going to do the accelerated advanced standing, which is like around 12 credits a semester, we really want you to have a bit of a higher GPA. Courtney, you had a question.
Hi, yeah, I went to Wartburg for my bachelor's and they do the credits differently. So for the 3.0, they split it so they had like your major credits and then they had like all of your essential education credits.
Right.
And so is it for those combined GPA or is it just for the major requirements GPA?
It generally is for the combined. But if your combined is a little bit under 3.0, then one of the things we can do is look at the credits that you your GPA in the last 60 hours, which tends to be your more major credits. Does that answer your question? Perfect. And Wartburg's a great program. Glad to hear you went there.
Yeah, and I just want to re-emphasize that if your GPA falls below the 3 point, that is the preferred for the faculty in the program. However, 2.75 and above, definitely, we want you to apply to Grandview. I will help you. I will review your statement of purpose before it goes to the faculty. If there's any recommendations that we can make, you can also submit what we call an appeal letter. There's often times that unusual circumstances around your bachelor's degree GPA could be that there's just been significant time between and you're maturing as an adult and you are in a different phase in life, you've been a successful adult, adult, we will troubleshoot with you and help to make sure that you have the strongest application presented to the faculty before it is submitted to the faculty. So that's part of my responsibility here at Grandview, is to make sure that you feel comfortable submitting the application, and that I will help you strengthen it, and I get it to that point where it's ready to be presented to the faculty reviewers. So now let's move on to the coursework. And once again, Kathy, I'll let you go ahead and talk about this as well.
Sure, sure. So you'll see that it says online courses, blended courses, and in-person courses. So our program is a combination of those. It's not fully online. It's not fully in person. It has a variety of different, what it's referred to as platforms, a variety of platforms in the courses. Some of the courses are only offered online. So there are a few courses that you will be required to take that are only offered online. Some courses are offered either online or in person. For example, Gurdonese teaches Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, and you can take that in person during the day. Some students actually like, even if they're working, they have some flexibility and they like to be able to work come to class during the day, or you could take that class fully online. There are some other courses, like one that Dr. Williams is going to be teaching, 505, that's typically taken in students first spring that they're with us if they have regular standing. That one's only offered online. We also have all of our courses that are in person are what are referred to as blended courses. And the reason is, if you have a 3-credit class that lasts 15 weeks, which is a typical semester, it is expected that you will be in the classroom 3 hours a week. We have very few courses that are actually 3 hours a week. We have a couple of them, but most of them are 2 hours a week. So what about that extra hour that you're supposed to be learning? Well, your instructor will give you additional content to consume through Blackboard, which is our learning management system. So it might mean some extra readings, it might be some podcasts, it might be some videos, it might be some interactive activities, it might be a recorded lecture. There's something else that's an additional hour if you're only in the classroom 2 hours a week. So that all of our courses that are in person have some level of blending. And then we have other courses that are only offered in person. Now, what if you don't live in the central Iowa area? If you live outside of the central Iowa area, which is considered Polk and the surrounding counties, you may Zoom in to class. And we have quite a few students who attend their entire educational path virtually, meaning they Zoom into all the classes, and your instructors would then do certain things with you in breakout rooms. They would put you with other students that can join with you virtually, and they may not necessarily be all virtual students. They might be students that are in the classroom and you happen to be in their small group as well. So it is possible to join virtually if you live outside the area. If you live in Polk County and the surrounding counties, so you are expected for in-person classes to come in person. It's only if you live outside the area. And we actually have people that live outside of this country who are attending classes, and people that live outside of the state of Iowa, as well as the far reaches of Iowa. Oops, can we go back for a second?
Oops, yeah, sorry. Apologies.
So the evening courses, a few of the courses for students who do not have a bachelor's degree, a few of those are 3 hours on Monday nights, 5 to 8, just a few of those. All of the rest of them, if they're in person, are 2 hours, either 5 to 7 or 7:15 to 9:15, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. We do not have classes on Friday nights, thank you very much, and we do not have classes on the weekend. As it says there, some of our courses are available also during the day. And we've noticed that in the last year or so, we have more and more students who are working but have some flexibility with work, who are able to come and take a class during the day so that they have fewer evenings. Our courses go all year round. And so you would be expected to have some level of coursework in spring, summer, and fall. If you do the accelerated plan and you have a bachelor's degree as, I think it was Courtney. Are you the one who said, yeah, that went to Wartburg? If she decided to do the accelerated program, she would start in the summer and she would do summer, fall, spring, and then she would graduate the following year. She could be in the advanced standing program though and decide that she'd rather slow it down a little bit and work quite a bit at the same time. And so she could do it in 2 years. If you have regular standing, it's impossible to do it in a summer, fall, spring. So you would do it over the course of 2 years, although you could slow it down a little bit more. You'll see under where it says spring, summer, and fall terms that we have a variety of different lengths of terms. A traditional semester in the fall and the spring is 15 weeks. During the summer, we have most of our courses are 12 weeks. We've got one of them that's 15 weeks in the summer. We've got other courses in the summer, fall, and spring that are 7 weeks. And think about that. It's a 15-week course that's been compressed into 7 weeks. So it goes a lot faster, but it's done quicker. And during the summer, we have some courses that are just 6 weeks. So there is a variety in terms of the length of terms that we have. Does anybody have any questions about that? That's a lot of information for you right now.
We do have a question regarding international student attendance, and one question is being proposed whether or not international students would be able to join the class virtually.
Well, we have an international student that is able to join the class virtually right now. I'm not sure if he'd be classified as an international student. He's actually deployed. And then we do have another student. Let me ask you, Ginger, does the designation of international student have to do with citizenship or residency?
Citizenship. So my
Citizenship,
understanding for international students, if you are an international student coming to Grandview University, it would require in-person coursework. That being said, if we have students that are abroad, it would be the same situation that they live outside the Polk County and surrounding counties. And so you would be welcome to join the coursework synchronous Zoom. However, specifically for international students, you're most likely going to be here on campus. You can live off of campus, but you'll live close to the Des Moines area and you'll be required to attend in-person classwork.
Vanessa, I'm going to answer your question. No, there's not a price difference between in-person credit versus virtual credit. It's both the same amount. Lindsay, did we answer your question about the fact that there are a variety of different timelines and that one of the first thing that happens, so currently as our process is that if you apply and you're admitted, the first thing you do is have an initial advising appointment with me, and then you're dispersed across the other faculty for advising. But in that initial advising session, one of the first things we talk about is, tell me a little bit about what your outside commitments are in life. I mean, do you have a family? Are you a caretaker? Are you working full time? Do you have, outside activities that you need to attend to? So we talk about what's reasonable for you. My job as an initial advisor is to give you options. Your job is to figure out what fits best for you, because I don't know your life. And so that would be one of the first things that we would talk about, Lindsay, is, how much do you work and what's your level of intensity and what do you think is reasonable? And very often students will start out saying, let's just start with 2 classes at a time. And the reason for 2 is because you have to have at least 5 credits to get financial aid. So often students will start out with just 2, and then they'll figure out, okay, what was that like? Can I take on another one, or is that just right for me? Keep in mind, this is not a race. And one of the things I like to tell students is that I took 11 years to get my master's degree. I don't really recommend 11 years, but like if it takes you 3 instead of 2 or 4 instead of 3, it's not the end of the world. You'll just be another year older and wiser. Let's see. Are you able to do a year and a half if you're in advanced standing? Yes. If a student, for example, had advanced standing and they decided to start this spring, What that just means is instead of having 3 terms, summer, fall, spring, that are super intense, they would take some courses this spring and have it be a little bit less intense along the line. Does anybody have a question in the chat that I haven't fully answered? Or any of us haven't fully answered? So at the bottom of this, you'll see that we have degree checklists and plans of study and course descriptions on the Grandview website. So if you go into Grandview and you look under academics and then graduate programs and choose Master of Social Work, you'll see this is kind of our lingo. So the degree checklist means it's a document that just lists all the courses that you would be required to take, whether you're administration leadership specialty or clinical specialty or school social work specialty. Note that when you apply, you have to identify a specialty at first, but you can switch. We regularly have students switch. The plan of study means that when you look at that, it'll show you what your coursework would be if you completed the degree in 1 year or 2 years or 4 years. So the degree checklist is just a list of courses. The plan of study is which ones you would take in which term. Emily, I see you're asking about the class times. In general, they are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. They are 5 to 7 p.m. and 7:15 to 9:15 p.m. Now, you might not have both of those time slots. You might just have one or the other. Some of the courses for students that do not have a BSW, and those are referred to as foundation or generalist courses, some of those are Mondays 5 to 8 p.m. Some of those are also during the day as well, usually on Tuesday and Thursday, sort of the middle of the day. Although the one Gerdnese teaches, isn't that Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the morning?
I teach the bachelor's class of Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the morning.
When is your Jedi class, Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion?
In the spring, it's Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 2:20.
Okay, so any of your in-person classes that you might take during the day are going to be on Tuesday and Thursday in the middle of the day. If you're going to be a grad assistant for a team and wondering if it's easy to combine, well, that's one of the things we would talk about. We have, for example, a student right now who, I won't say what team she is on, but she is associated with the team, and we have arranged her schedule so that she has a certain night of the week, as few of the classes as possible, because her games tend to be more on a certain night of week. So like if you know, for example, that you're going to have a heavy load on Tuesday of games, then we are going, or practices or something like that. I mean, you might have to miss some practices if we have some evening classes. But if you know, for example, all of your games are on Tuesday nights, then we will look at not having you take Tuesday night classes as much as possible. So we can work around that some. The coaches, one of the things you would want to do is talk with your coach, and the coaches are actually very willing to work with us and work with you. Goes back to that business of communication. Just make sure you talk to them about it. Make sure you talk to your instructors about it. Any other questions?
So I want to emphasize, I think you've heard firsthand the expertise that we have from our MSW faculty and our MSW director, specifically Dr. Kathy Beck-Cross. So one of the advantages here at Grandview University is that we have a smaller student population. So we're able to offer smaller class sizes, which can lead to facilitate more personalized attention from our faculty and a more interactive learning environment. And so one of the things I love doing is going to social work education fairs and hearing firsthand from those that are out in the field currently. And they come up to our Grandview table and they just say immediately to me that they want Grandview students because they know that they are so well nurtured throughout the duration of their program, whether it's in the classroom or during their field experience. You are well nurtured and you are taken care of. You'll have that sense of community within the faculty and the program, and that's for life. When you earn that degree, which don't blink, it will happen that fast, but you will be well nurtured even as alum. So faculty are readily available to support you and excited to do so. They truly, genuinely, authentically care about you and your success. So I think, Jared Neese, are you going to visit with us about the practicum and field education for the program?
It's actually Gerdonese.
Jared Neese, sorry about that.
That's okay. Ask me your question again, Ginger. I'm so sorry. I didn't hear.
Would you visit with us about the field education experience at Grandview?
Oh yeah. So technically this is in Dr. Colbeck's wheelhouse, but she's not here today. So I'll briefly touch on it since we co-teach this course together. So your field education, for those of you who are regular standing individuals, you will have technically two field placements. You will have your foundational field placement where you get to complete your hours as before you do your advanced field placement. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's 300 for your foundational, Kathy,
Mhm.
and then 600 for your advanced. So you have to complete your foundational before you can do your advanced. The experience that we want you guys to receive out of your field education is like, because social work is such a vast space of professions, you get the opportunity ultimately to test your field before you go into it. So you can Alyssa works with students to kind of understand what they want to do in the field and then match you with a field placement that reflects what you desire to do in the field. So ultimately, if you want to do your foundational field experience with a place that you were thinking about, and then do something different for your advance, you have the opportunity to do that here. So we have a lot of students who want to work in like foster care and children and family services, but then want to do their advanced in kind of a clinical space, more advanced or macro level. We have individuals who are doing library social work, school-based social work, mental health counseling. We have somebody with the Polk County attorney's office. So we have people in all different spaces of social work practice, macro, micro, and meso level. So it's ultimately up to you and to work with Alyssa to kind of determine that space that you want to go into and kind of get those hours done. This is required of CSWE as it relates to your degree completion. You have to do your field education experience. And it allows us as your educators to see, are you capable of going into practice with all the skills and tools that we've taught you and do effective work? So it's about your professionalism, it's about applying the theories in true practice, ultimately taking in everything that you learn in the classroom setting into an applicable manner into the field. And then we get to decide, are you actually ready to go out and be social workers? So it's a fun experience. It's a great time, but it's very serious. So if I've missed something, Kathy, you let me know.
I think we're good. Courtney has a question.
Oh, go ahead.
It's kind of a two-parter. So I did two in my undergrad already that were about both of those hours, but I'm still assuming like through the master's program, those wouldn't carry over. So I would still do it through the master's program as well.
Yes, that's a little bit more of a complicated question than you realize. Okay, so the Council on Social Work Education says that altogether for your master's degree, you have to have accumulated 900 hours, a minimum. And so as a student who has already completed a bachelor's degree, 300 hours of what you've already completed gets to come forward, and you do not have to take that initial first placement. You do have to have the second placement, though. That's 600 hours, and that's how we get to the 900 hours altogether that's expected by the Council on Social Work Education. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And then my question that kind of goes with that. So I actually like work as a social worker. So I know like some places do this, but I wanted to check. So like would me being at work count for those hours?
It can. So you can do what's referred to as an employment-based placement if your employer will do a couple of things. First of all, they have to ensure that what you're doing is new. You can't get paid to do the same old stuff you're always doing. And it has to be doing things that are closer to the graduate level. Because by the time you do your advanced placement, you got a good chunk of the coursework out of the way and you are ready for practicing your advanced skills. So what happens is they have to help put together a plan for what kinds of things you're going to do that are different than what you're already being paid for and help advance your skills at the master's level. So it is possible to do that. You just would have a conversation with our practicum education director early on. The other thing that's kind of fits in with an employment placement is that sometimes students will strategically start a new job right about the time that they're supposed to start their placement. And guess what? That counts because CSWE says it has to be a new placement. So when I was finishing up my master's degree, I got a job at a school district and I started August 1 and my final year of the master's program started later in August. And they allowed that to count as my placement because it was a new experience. And I was doing the position required a master's degree, so they knew I would be doing, close to master's level work. So it is possible to continue to get paid. It's just a process that you need to make sure to work out with the practicum education director and make sure you're meeting the expectations of the Council on Social Work Education.
I also want to add to what Kathy was talking about. It's for a lot of schools, how you complete your hours semester wise is very critical for students. Your 600 hours is split over 2 semesters. It's not something that you accumulate in one semester. So I did want to make sure that you guys know that. So we do 300 in the fall, 300 in the spring for your advanced field education. Your foundational is over 1 semester, typically
Yes, thank
in the
you for
spring, right,
clarifying that.
Kathy?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for
Foundation
clarifying.
is only offered in the spring.
Yeah. And even if so we've had people, there's a particular organization in Des Moines that has quite a few of their employees who are working on their master's degree in social work. And what they have done is they allow their employees to go down just a little bit in hours. I think they go down to like maybe 34 hours a week. And then they have their employees do the placement hours on top of that. Now, that's a lot. I get that that's a lot, but the placement hours, 300 hours, is about 20 hours a week over a 15-week. Now, sometimes students will take Thanksgiving break week and pile on some more hours, or they'll take spring break and pile on some more hours, but it's about 20 hours a week. So if you're working full time and maybe your employer will allow you to go down a little bit on your hours so you can still maintain your benefits and then put your 20 hours or so on top of it, that's another option too. There's a lot of ways to make this work, and we'll talk with you about that early on. Please don't let that be the barrier. We want to help you try to figure that out. I can see that Vanessa asked a question, is there a best time during the year to start the 2 years? If you're going to be doing it over 2 years, that tells me, Vanessa, would you be regular standing or advanced standing? Could you answer that either out loud or put it in the text in the chat? Regular standing. Okay. So the benefit of maybe starting a little bit before 2 years instead of waiting just till a summer or fall, if you started in the spring, what you do is you spread out your coursework just a little bit more so it's just not quite as heavy. It doesn't cost you any more to spread things out, other than the fact tuition, just like everything else in the world, goes up, a couple percent every year. But you're paying by the credit. So it's not like at the undergraduate level, like where between 12 and 18 credits is all the same price. And there's really a benefit to cramming in a whole lot more credits in a semester. That's not how it works at any graduate program. At the graduate level, you're paying by the credit. So as long as you have 5 credits, you're eligible for financial aid. And if you spread it out a little bit, you're still going to take the same amount of time. Like if instead of waiting till next fall, you started this spring, you would just spread it out so it's a little bit more manageable. It's not, you don't get a discount for taking more credits at a time.
Answering my question. I did have a follow-up question.
Sure.
Does this program or Grandview in general accept some employers provide tuition reimbursement
Yes.
for their employees? Is that something that your school accepts?
Ginger, you're nodding. I'll go ahead and let you talk about that.
Absolutely, yes. So we have many students that are very fortunate, like yourself, that have tuition benefits through the employer. We can work it out with the business office. And then even that being said, if you don't have the opportunity to be supported through tuition benefits with your employer, our business office is fabulous. So all across the board, Grandview is fabulous working with our students. So the business office can set up a customized payment arrangement for you. There's also financial aid opportunities, which I'll just briefly chat on later, but certainly tuition benefits can be worked out through the business office, and that's a great advantage for you.
I know
Thank
I
you.
regularly will sign the paperwork for the employer to verify, yes, they were enrolled in these courses, and this is how much this is how many credits they had. So typically employers will require that you pay for it first. You show them that you got a good grade, and then they usually pay you back.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you want me to talk about this one?
Yes, please.
Okay. So one of the things that we want you to be well equipped for is to be able to pass the licensure exam. And in the state of Iowa, a social work license is required if you're doing any kind of clinical work that involves assessment. Now, if you're not doing clinical work, it might be that your employer does not, well, the state wouldn't require that you take the licensure exam, but your employer might. And that's something I learned from personal experiences, that many employers don't even necessarily understand the nuances of a license, but they want you to have it. And so we want you to pass the licensure exam the first time. The licensure exam is a national exam, meaning whether you live in New York or Oklahoma or Iowa, it's the exact same exam all across the country. And one of the things that we offer in the last 2 semesters that you are in the program, whether you're advanced standing or regular standing, is licensure preparation embedded within your seminar course associated with your placement. We use an application by a person by the name of Dr. Dawn Apgar. And she is, if you go Google Dawn Apgar, you'll see that she writes a lot of books and programs to help people pass licensure exams. She's very popular, and she has worked with a publisher to develop a license prep course that is embedded within your your seminar associated with your final placement. And so part of your grade for that course is your engagement within that licensure prep program. Now, that doesn't mean that we see whether or not you pass the little quizzes within it or the practice exams. It's about the amount of time that you spend in it and practice towards the licensure exam. And so we have students have very high pass rates since we started using the licensure prep course. There's a small fee associated with it that's actually less than what you'd pay if you went to a full day license prep course, but it's well worth it because it helps ensure that you pass the exam, hopefully the first time, and that's what our high rates are. You can actually take the licensure exam in the spring before you graduate. Now, at the undergraduate level, you can't do that, but at the graduate level, you can take your licensure exam in the spring before you graduate. And most students take it in April, maybe the first part of, in March, or maybe the first part of April. And what that means is that as you're applying for jobs, you can then say to your potential employer, I've already passed the licensure exam. Now, you can't actually get your license until you show them that you got your diploma for your MSW, but passing that licensure exam is the first step. And last year, we had a fairly small class last year of 13. This year, we have a class of 26. But last year, by March, 11 of the 13 already had job offers. And so when you have a job offer early on, we want to make sure you can pass that licensure exam. Bernice, you want to say anything more about that? You don't have to. I just thought maybe you would want to add something.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely was going to add that the in the fall when you start your licensure prep, the fee that you pay is a one-time fee. You have access to the licensure prep forever. They just changed that. So now, even after your 2 years of doing supervision and you want to sit for your LI, you can go back and review the questions because you always will have access to it. So I think that's something that is truly beneficial for you guys as students, especially for you who are taking your licensure. Because here's the thing, you can graduate the program, get a job, and not want to take your licensing exam. It's not something that we as faculty are forcing you to do. So, but it's available to you. You have the opportunity. There are so many great benefits to having your license. So, yeah, it's a great class. We have a great time.
Thank you. So why Grandview? We've been talking, so far, I'm sure that you've seen a lot of advantages that you distinguish Grandview University, but here are some additional ones. There's no GRE, no application fee, no enrollment fee. So that's definitely a perk. But one thing that we have not discussed that is very important is that we are accredited by the Council of Social Work Education. So the SCWE Board of Accreditation. And so Kathy, do you want to mention anything about that briefly?
Yeah, what that means to be accredited by the Council on Social Work Education is that you have gone through a very, very rigorous process where they make sure that you are meeting the standards of rigor expected for social work programs that help prepare people well for the profession. You could go somewhere to a non-accredited program. You might be able to get through it faster. You might be able to get through it cheaper, but that does not necessarily mean that you are going to learn what you need to do, what you need to learn in order to be a professional social worker and then move forward in the field. And so it takes 4 years to actually go through that process. During the 4 years, you have to have students the entire time, and then you have to do, it is literally thousands of pages of documentation about what you do from the very start to the very end and all the faculty and that sort of thing. And so we are an accredited program. We're very proud of that because it's rigorous. But what it means is that you're getting what you pay for.
And I think that just leads into this next page, that according to the National Association of College and Employers, Grandview University MSW program achieves 100% engagement for career outcomes. Phenomenal. It speaks for itself. So you can have full confidence that Grandview University is highly reputable. It's a rigorous program and provides favorable marketability for you as you're looking and exploring for careers, and as well as licensure outcomes for our MSW students upon graduation. And we're accredited, so that's a golden seal there. So let's move on to the next page here. So Kathy, would you mind speaking a little bit about our scholarship opportunities?
Sure. It just so happens right now is when we are taking applications for people who are currently in the program for the Catalyst Scholarship. And the Catalyst Scholarship is a scholarship that's up to $5,000. And that is awarded in the spring term for the student who receives that. So it's eligible, or it's available for students that have both regular standing and advanced standing. And so if you decided to enroll and you started next summer and you were doing the accelerated program, then you applied for the scholarship and got it, it would pay for up to $5,000 of your spring term. And that is, it's a small essay that students address related to how they are a catalyst for change, both as students and how they expect to be a catalyst for change in their future profession. The Phil and Diana Sickles Scholarship is a private scholarship that's available for students. And that one, I'm not sure if that's on pause this year, so I would have to look into that. Maybe Advancement can tell you a little bit about that. But that is also a significant scholarship that's available, and that is applied to the fall term.
Thank you so much. So you'll also notice on this page that we offer multiple discounts. If you have military, if you're a Grandview alum, there are discounts for you. And then also another way to help make your degree affordable is applying for financial aid. So we have fabulous financial aid representatives here at Grandview University. If you're unfamiliar or if it's been a while since you submitted FAFSA, do not stress over it, because we will have a representative that hops on Zoom with you and helps you apply. They'll be with you through the entire awarding of your financial aid. I do want to just share some basic information about financial aid at the graduate level. So once you have completed your bachelor's degree, financial aid at that point in time is loan money. Grant money is only for your first bachelor's degree. So, but that being said, you can certainly borrow enough money to pay for the duration of your program, cover all your course materials, even have additional money to help support you and your cost of living. If you need a computer. However, we really encourage our students only to borrow what you need. Then also we had mentioned previously that our business office is here for you as well. They can help set up installment payment arrangements over the course of the duration. We will work with you if you have employer tuition benefits. So rest assured that it's not, from the point that you raise your hand and show interest at Grandview through life, you're going to be well nurtured and taken care of. And there are resources all across campus. Whether or not you ever step foot on this campus, you will be nurtured through the process in every aspect and avenue that you are exploring your graduate program. So the next page that we have here is the application. So we truly hope that you will apply to Grandview University. One of the things that I can offer you is we understand that you're probably going to be looking around at other institutions, and you should probably make sure that you align the program that best fits you. One of the things that is to your advantage is that we can offer campus visits, whether it's in person or virtual, and I'd be happy to set that up for you. And so just reach out to me at any point in time. You're getting plenty of emails, phone calls, texts from me. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. I can coordinate that out for you. And then also the application process here at Grandview University is very simple. As mentioned previously, there is no application fee, there's no enrollment fee, there's no GRE. So when you apply to Grandview University, you're just going to go onto the Grandview website, submit a graduate application. If you're still looking at the spring or summer semester for 2026, you're going to be submitting the application for the 2025-2026 academic year. And then if you're looking at fall, then you're going to be fall of 2026 and beyond, you're going to be submitting an application for the 2026-2027 academic year. So in that situation for the spring and summer, whether it's financial aid or applying to Grandview, it always falls back to the previous academic year. Just a mental note there. But once you submit that application, then we'll collect some supplemental materials. And one thing that Grandview does for you to help the process make it as simple and easy as possible is that we ask you for 2 references, and we will actually email those references when you provide their email addresses, and we will collect the online recommendation on your behalf. It's a little bit less intimidating to ask your faculty and professional references or your academic references for a letter of recommendation that takes significant time for them. This will literally only take them 5 to 8 minutes to complete an online recommendation for you. And then we will ask for you to submit a professional resume and then a written statement of purpose. And it's important for you to either visit the website or be sure to read my emails about the application process, because the MSW is very appreciative if you are very thorough in answering the questions that they've asked you. And so, the final thing that we'll need is your transcript. If you have not yet graduated with your bachelor's degree, still submit it. We will admit you conditionally under the understanding that you're going to earn that bachelor's degree, and we'll collect that final transcript with your final grades and your degree conferred after they're posted from your current institution. So don't wait to finish that application process. Just submit an unofficial transcript to us and we'll collect that final later. And that being said, if you already have your bachelor's degree, you can be admitted under an unofficial transcript, and within the first semester, you just need to submit that official transcript from your institution. Are there any questions about, I also should mention those priority application deadlines. So to help the MSW program make placements for your field experience, we do encourage the priority application deadlines. That being said, the application process is rolling and we will continue to admit students throughout the duration of the program. Unless we don't have enough seats, but that's highly unlikely. And so we will continue to accept applications beyond the priority deadlines. So you can see those priority deadlines that are listed there. Are there any questions about the application material checklist or process?
There's a question in the chat. When does the letter of intent come into play?
Gotcha. So I believe that's meaning if you're an athlete, is that specifically the question, or?
So my question came because I would fall under the group whose GPA is a little bit under the 3.0.
Okay, sure. So great question. So the way the process works is once you have all of your application materials submitted to Grandview, I will review it and I'll come back to you. And if there's any recommendations that I'll make, then I'll make those. If your application is complete and looks good, then I submit that to the MSW faculty reviewers. And then they have 1 week to review your application materials and provide that admissions decision back to me. And then I will give you a call. If I don't reach you, then I will go ahead and send you a text or leave a message and send you an email. So I know that there's a lot of anxious anticipation about that admissions decision. So I provide that to you as quickly as possible. But you will have that admissions decision 1 week after I tell you that I have submitted your application to the MSW faculty reviewers. Often is less time than that, but many times faculty, there could be a spring break. We still review over that, but we want to be respectful of the faculty members' time. And so it's 1 week that they are given to provide that admissions decision.
And if a student has slightly below 3.0, what that just means is that they have provisional admission for the first semester. And as soon as their GPA within the first semester of graduate work is 3.0 and above, then that conditional assist or the provisional assistant drops off. The other thing I'd like to say about the 5-day response time, the reason why we do that is because, first of all, we don't want you to have the anxiety of waiting. Second of all, most institutions do review their applications like this. They have a deadline. Let's say their deadline is December 1st, And then they put all their applications in yes, no, maybe piles. And so whether or not you get admitted in part depends on who else applied. So if they only have 30 spots, you might have a really good application, but if somebody has something better than you, then you don't get in. We don't do that. We judge your applications based on your own merit. They are not in comparison with somebody else. They're based on your own merit. And so we can do that in 5 days because we're not waiting to collect all of them at once.
Excellent points. Thank you.
There's a question in the chat. Is it recommended or required that FAFSA be completed before or after application reviews? What is your opinion?
Sure. No, absolutely not. You know, for you to know whether or not you're going to be able to pursue the program may be dependent if you are able to have financial aid, but on the admissions process, it is not important to submit your FAFSA application first. At any point in time as a graduate student, even if you think right now that you're going to have tuition benefits through employer and you will not need financial aid, at any point in time during the duration of your program, you can apply as a graduate student for FAFSA. There are no deadlines for FAFSA financial aid for graduate students. And as soon as your FAFSA application is received at Grandview, within 5 days, you will be provided the award package. So it's a very quick process. It does take anywhere from 2 to 5 days once you submit your FAFSA application for Grandview to receive it. However, there's no order that you need to submit that FAFSA application. It can be anytime. Okay, so just as a whole, why should you work towards your master's degree? So as a whole, most individuals, it will boost your salary range $13,000 annually. That being said, it's not going to take much time at all for you to have a return on investment for working towards your graduate degree. Don't wait, and it will pay for itself over time. And so we just have been so thrilled for you to join us tonight. And so if you're ready to take those next steps towards enrollment, we really encourage you to submit that online application. We know that you're going to potentially have follow-up questions. And so we just really want to encourage you to reach out to myself specifically on the application steps. And then if you have some more academic questions, I can connect you with Dr. Kathy Beck-Cross, any of the MSW faculty members. And so one of those things that we haven't talked about was once you're a student, what happens? And so I've emphasized that you're going to be well nurtured throughout the program. So one of the great advantages is that the MSW faculty will have an orientation for you. They want to make sure that they will that you are equipped for success. And so during that first term, you'll have an online orientation, and you once again will have an assigned social work faculty academic advisor over the duration of your program. And so we've just been really excited to share with you tonight, and we just want to open the forum here and see if there's anything else. What else is it that you would like to know that we may have not addressed? Oh, okay. So one of the questions in the chat is, when is the deadline for spring? And so there is no deadline. So we'll go back to this. And so the deadline for spring, the priority application is November 1st, but we are still enrolling for spring. So we certainly encourage you to continue to submit your application. There's no penalty for you not to have your application in. It's just a matter of our faculty being able to have more time to help coordinate your field experiences.
So if you were to start in the spring and you are, and you're thinking about like, oh, how long do I have to get my application in? Well, one of the things that keep in mind is in the spring, if you're starting in the spring, we have a virtual orientation session about a month before every term starts. So our virtual orientation for the spring term, which starts January 12th, is December 15th. So Monday, December 15th, we're going to have a virtual orientation session, and we really want you to be at that. Now, could you come to Grandview without having had your virtual orientation session? Yes, you could. You would just miss some important information. And keep in mind too that as the person who does your initial advisings, we need to make sure that we have a good hour to talk about what does your plan of study look like, what are your career goals, what kind of electives do you want to take. We need to be able to have time on that. And if you wait till right before the beginning of the January term, well, we're actually on winter break then, and we'll come back on winter break, but we're not quite as readily available because we might be traveling or something like that. So if you have any kind of questions that will help you make up your mind in terms of whether or not this is a good fit for you, really now is the time to be scheduling a time either with Ginger or with me. I'm sure Gerdenice would be happy to talk with you too. But we want to be able to answer your questions so that you feel like you're coming in prepared and not rushed.
Are there any other questions? And we're happy to stay on longer if you have a question that you don't want to address in front of the group. So
Are we able to message you privately, like in a day or so, if we had any follow-up?
absolutely, yes, please do. And after this session, you'll receive a follow-up email from me. So you can go ahead and reply to that, but I'll also put my email address here in the chat box if you want to go ahead and send me something tonight even. There's my email address. Don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to schedule a phone call with you or Zoom session or share email conversation with you. So certainly that's the advantage here of Grandview, that we want to make sure that you have all your questions answered. So don't hesitate to raise that hand and ask them.
Thank
Ginger's
you.
also really good at knowing when to forward things to me to ask additional questions or financial aid or something like that too. So Lindsay, you had a question.
I kind of have two, both completely separate, I guess. One is directed, I think, towards Ginger more so with respects to, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there was like uh, was it like a class, like something to like maybe more or less kind of determine the niche of which specific specialty, just to delve into that a little bit further. And then secondly, the other question was kind of on that same aspects as to kind of within the realm of whether it be advanced or regular standing, kind of where you're noticing people begin to determine that specific specialty, and maybe what statistics there are with Grandview on those specific specialties, especially too, at least what you've seen. Just curious, I guess.
Do you want me to start there?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay. So if you're, Lindsay, you're an alum of Grandview. Am I correct on that? Okay. So that means, because I know all the students that have been in the BSW program, I'm pretty sure you have not been in the BSW program, right? Right. So you are a regular standing student. That means that while you have to identify a specialty as you apply, you are not locked in because you have 24 credits of foundation work that you're going to be, coursework that you're going to be completing that will open your eyes to the various aspects of social work. So it is really common for students to come in thinking that they want to do clinical and then they take social policy class and they think, oh my gosh, I really think I would like to go a little bit of a different direction. So while you have to put in something for the application, those first 24 credits that are just generalized are really a time for you to do some exploring and thinking. So it is very easy in that particular process or that particular time frame to switch to a different specialty. That said, 85% of our students take clinical. Now, they don't necessarily all want to be therapists, though. Sometimes they want to work, for example, like we had a person who she didn't take clinical, but she took administration and leadership, and she used all of her electives for the clinical courses because she was going to work in a place that worked with folks that had substance use disorders and mental health concerns. Okay. Or there might be somebody who knows they want to work in a school setting, but they want to get all of the clinical courses possible. Okay. Or they want to work in a medical setting, but they think they might be doing some group and other things on the side related to it. So sometimes students take the clinical, like I said, not because they think they want to be a therapist, but they want to be many other broad things. Gerdney's talked about the various things that she has done, and all of us on faculty have done a lot of different things, just a huge variety of things. And so you really want to think more about the skills that you're hoping to get out of your master's degree, which help polish your social work experience, and less about what the actual title is. Because remember, Gerdney's mentioned that when you get your master's degree, it only says Master of Social Work. It does not say your specialty. Does that answer all your questions?
Yes, and then just that last one I think was just with respects to what Ginger I think had previously noted. I'll have to go back through my new emails, but and again, kind of generally speaking on what you were like I think the 24 or whatever. Um, if I'm not mistaken, there was maybe the option to more or less come in and kind of view one or obviously meet with yourself or something in that regard, just to kind of get, so to speak, your feet wet in that same aspect of what realm of social work to fit yourself into.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one thing that I'll just mention that I usually share with prospective students that Kathy is always readily available. But that being said, if you want to go online and just go ahead and look over those degree checklists, there's a list of classes as well as some description along with it. So you might just want to review that, and then that way you can just, if things stand out to you that, oh, I'm really interested in that, I can't wait to take that class, that, you might find one area of concentration of more interest just by reviewing the list of classes that fall under those concentrations.
Courtney, you have a question.
Yeah, so I have always been interested in doing like geriatric social work and doing like nursing home. Right now I work for like HUD housing and doing like just low income, helping people with that type of stuff. So I was just wondering, out of like the three options, what would be more leaning towards that like geriatric social work aspect?
Well, that sort of depends, and that's part of what we would talk about in your first advising session. So I had just met with an advising student today who plans to work in hospice and geriatrics, maybe medical, something like that. And so she was a little bit torn between doing administration and leadership, or does she do clinical? She opted to do clinical, but take the elective courses that were more associated with what we might think of with administration and leadership. So program evaluation, because one of the things that if you see yourself as being a leader in a program, sometime you're going to want to know how to evaluate whether or not it's doing what it's supposed to do. However, this particular student knew that she might be working with families. And so families when they're, if you're working in the geriatric population or working with hospice, you're going to be working with families, and it's important to understand how families work, the grieving process, maybe even doing groups for families. And so she talked about what she wanted her skills to be, and then we kind of figured out which way to go. And the thing is about your electives allow you to go a little bit deeper, either in the same area or in maybe one of the other areas. So, for example, a lot of times students who are doing the clinical, who think maybe someday they would like to be a school-based therapist, will take the working in schools class, because if you're going to work in a school setting, you need to know how very complex school settings work. So there's the ability to do some crossover. Samantha, who is our new faculty member starting in January, she's going to be teaching a course that's called Social Justice in Special Populations. And you heard her say that her expertise is in military social work, medical social work. She's also worked with older adults in hospice. And that's going to be the focus of her course, is those three areas, going a little bit deeper into it with the social work perspective, which is how do we make sure those people receive socially just treatment and services and supports.
And Kathy, this is Samantha. I think it's important to note that when we hear the word clinical, that doesn't just mean like therapy. I've worked in medical social work all of my career, and I do clinical work within the medical field. So I think it's important that clinical doesn't just equal like therapy. It's also understanding, different theories and how we apply them to practice. It's understanding, the differences in, the aging process and how to work with those different clientele. So I think that the clinical, oftentimes we think that means therapy, and clinical means much more than just therapy.
That's perfect. Thank you for saying that, Samantha.
Well,
What other questions you have? You have us right now. So what other questions?
and also that being said, we can go ahead and close out. And if any of you have questions that you want to ask a little bit more individually, we will go ahead and wrap up the session now. And if you want to stay on and ask some questions to us, you're more than welcome. We just thank everyone so much for joining us this evening. I know that it went a little bit long, but I know that the information was extremely valuable. So you may have information overload right now, but we want to make sure that we equip you properly to help you make an educated decision moving forward if Grandview is going to be the right fit for you. And I just sincerely thank the Master of Social Work faculty for joining us tonight. Their expertise is invaluable. And so it really made the information session of utmost importance to be able to talk intimately about that academic experience. So thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Nice to be able to see all of you and hear from those of you. So
thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. Hope you have a great week.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.